We don't talk about this a lot. We are a couple generations removed from the slave era. And Jamaicans do this, and some are like, no masa. It's like a Jamaican thing to say. And that comes from that. We continued that cycle from that era of thinking that's how you discipline someone.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why I would never lay a finger on my child too, you know what I mean?
Tell me about home birth.
They just blew up a pool in the living room, filled it with water, and was about time for her to give birth. She was like, CJ, get in here. I'm like, what?
What up? Welcome to another episode of the Rap Dads Show. I'm your host, Esteban Serrano, and we are here at the iconic Algonquin Hotel in the Oak Room with one of my favorite rappers. Was one of my favorite rappers, but now he's a dad, so he's one of my favorite rap dads. He is a dope MC, an amazing actor, an artist. Above all of that, he's a rap dad.
That's a
CJ Fly.
Wagwan.
Welcome to Rap Dads, man.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
So I like to start these conversations off going back to your relationship with your dad.
Yeah.
Papa Fly. What was your relationship like?
Oh man, my dad's been in my life since as early as I can remember. You know what I mean? Like, he's like honestly one of my best friends, and if not my best friend, and my biggest role model. You know what I mean? And I don't remember a day when my father wasn't in my life, and he's been such a pivotal part of me being who I am. Me even calling myself the rude boy, you know what I mean? It's because he was the original rude boy to me.
Right.
And yeah, my dad is incredible, man. Shout out to my pops. Like, if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be the person I am today.
And where were you in your life when you became a dad?
Where was I? I think I was maybe, I would say 8 or 10 years into my career.
Nice.
You know what I mean? Still trying to figure things out. I think I just put out Rude Boy maybe a year and a half before my son came. And what's funny is I was on a song with Nick Caution, and on the song we were talking about, like, you know, not the future per se, but like what we're gonna be doing in like the near future, you know what I mean? And on the song, I didn't know what gender or when I was gonna have a kid or if I was even having a kid. But on the song, I was like, but in 2021, I'm gonna be seeing my son walking, and then had a son. It's funny, we wanted a girl originally too.
Word.
But then I had a son, and it was like, look at that. Manifestation.
Yeah, man.
Power of the tongue, you know what I mean?
Yes, exactly. Words definitely have power. Mm-hmm. Tell me about home birth, bro.
Oh, man. Home birth was beautiful, and I don't want to use the wrong words, but it was an insane experience. Like,
right.
You know what I mean? And not bad insane, but amazing.
Right.
Insane, you know what I mean? Like, they just blew up a pool in the living room, filled it with water. And first of all, let's say this. My son was supposed to come at the end of March, and he ended up being 2 days late. So like his mom was in labor for almost maybe, I don't want to say 72 hours, but damn near 72 hours. So that was like a lot for her, you know, and I had to help her through that. And you know what I mean, when she finally got into the pool and was about time for her to give birth, she was like, CJ, get in here. I'm like, what? She was like, get in here. So not only was it a home birth in the pool, I had to get in the pool with her. You feel me? And I ain't gonna lie, my OCD was like, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day,
but you told us you was a germaphobe too.
She knows, but it wasn't about me at the moment. It was like she needed me in there with her to complete the birthing ritual. You know what I mean? And I had to do my part. So I hopped in that John, and I was like, I'm in here. You know what I mean? And I ain't never cried so much in my life, man.
What?
I was like, yo, this is beautiful.
That's
like
amazing.
My son came into the world looking all like an alien.
Right.
What is this alien? Like, this is crazy. Like, yo, this is wild, man. Like, so as an artist and a creative, like, that was one of my best collaborations yet, and my best creations yet. And to see it come into this world like that was just like the most beautiful thing ever. Like, there's nothing I could have asked for more, and I'm thankful. Like, still to this day, so much gratitude for her being able to bring him into this world and surviving that. We don't talk about that a lot. Like a lot of moms don't make it after childbirth.
Yes.
So it's like, man, she's so strong, and I appreciate her, and thankful that we have a healthy baby.
I want to
grown man now, should I say?
Right.
Going on 4, 3 nature.
I want to I have to shout her out because we often hear about when in labor, women like cussing out.
Oh my God.
I hate you. Look what you putting me through.
She chewed me up. And then after it was like, I love you. Thank you so much.
Yo, that's crazy.
But nah, it's not her fault though. That shit, she did that shit with no epidural, no drugs, bro. She's a thug. Like I thought I was a G, bro. But shout outs to all the women out here pushing out babies, bro.
Good grief, man.
We think we gangster, bro. That's the real gangsters, you heard?
They the strongest of the strong.
Real talk.
For real.
They the reason we here.
Yeah.
We don't got no portal that brings life.
Right.
We got you know what I'm saying? We got a little something to put the elixir into the spot. But like other than that, they the ones carrying that 9 months, and you know what I mean? So much gratitude to all the moms, especially my BM.
For sure, bro.
All the blessings I'm receiving, you know that I'm thankful. I know there's more that will come. Can't believe we about to have us a daughter or son. Wifey praying for a girl, cause it's all that she want. I'm just glad to have a kid, would prefer either one.
One of the things that you did, kind of like being the artist that you are, but also like in preparation and almost like encapsulating that whole experience with Silver Lining.
Mm-hmm.
So the video is beautiful.
Thank you, man.
Tell me about when you got the idea to do that record.
So I wanted to do something to dedicate it to my son and his mom, and like really, do something that we could look back on and be like, yo, you were in your mom's stomach at this time, and we were, on the verge of becoming parents. This is us right before we weren't parents to being actual parents in the world. And I love that we were able to document it. She was not feeling well that day. It was like so much, what you call it? Is it prenatal? I guess prenatal nausea and not prenatal. I guess
morning
nausea,
sickness,
like morning sickness, all that shit. So it was like, you know what I mean? She was going through it, and I appreciate her pulling up and making sure we got it done. Again, super G, bro.
Word.
Salute. So it's like, you know what I mean? But we were able to do that. I called my boys from Brooklyn, told them to pull up on me because I was staying out in LA at the time.
Okay.
And they pulled up like damn near 2-hour drive, and we got that shit done in the sunflower field, which isn't even there anymore.
Wow.
So it's like when I drive past it, I'm like, look at this empty field that magic was made in.
So say such a that it looks like a magical place.
Yeah, man. It felt like some paradise type of setting.
Word.
I'm glad we were able to do that. And Silver Lining, the reason I called it Silver Lining, the artwork, if you saw it, was a heart-shaped cloud with the baby sonogram in it. I think people missed that whole detail because it was so subtle. And we tried to have a kid multiple times prior to him. And sadly, we suffered a couple miscarriages. So he was like our rainbow baby. So me calling it Silver Linings was an ode to him and her to say, this is our silver lining with our rainbow baby for him to come into this world. You know what I mean? And he was a blessing, and very thankful that he was able to come full term and be healthy and everything work out. So, and I, as a man, I don't know the exact toll that it may take on a woman to not be able to fully conceive a child and even having a miscarriage. So I just felt terrible, and obviously I lost something too, but for the woman I know it's way more heavy. So,
absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like that was like an ode of, you know what I mean, gratitude and appreciation by doing that, you know what I mean? And I produced that shit too, so.
Right, that was the first record.
That was my first song I ever produced, and I tried to produce during the pandemic because I didn't have no access to producers at the time, and I was like, let me just try something on this. So that's amazing. Man, I'm thankful that that record was able to be created, shot. I recorded it myself, wrote it myself, and that was my first self-production of anything.
Come on.
That was beautiful. For that to be it?
Absolutely.
Honor.
The 10 Dad Commandments.
That's
okay,
right.
all right.
Right.
This is the book right here, Fatherhood Through the Lens of Hip Hop.
I made a lot of mistakes. Thank you for this.
Right, thank you.
You know what I'm saying? We needed it, like I always tell people, it don't come with a rule book. I'm sure there's something in there that a new father can learn.
I'm new in the game. That's why I needed your book, man.
I worked at Atlantic Records. The biggest impression that time left on me was your fatherhood.
Right.
So I wrote this book this year, The 10 Dad Commandments. You were one of the big catalysts of that. You're in a couple of the chapters.
Wow.
Real quick, I want to refer to something that you do have in the book. It's called being a ride or die dad. And we always think of that as adults. The way I've applied that to my children is meeting them where they are.
If you don't mind, I want to talk a little more about the miscarriage situation. So my wife and I suffered a miscarriage as well after our second son. And I completely mishandled the situation.
I probably did too.
You know what I'm
we
saying?
don't know.
I didn't know any better. I didn't know how she needed to be supported. How, for me, it was so much about like taking care of business and making sure that, providing. I didn't offer that emotional support.
Yes.
Like what are some things that you did, or how did you help, if at all?
I tried my best to be supportive, and what was interesting with the situation was I was on tour when it first happened. I was on I think Beast Coast tour, not 2019, and I didn't even know until I got back, like again, how much of a G she is and how mindful and considerate she didn't tell me until I got home.
Dog.
And that made me sad because I feel like I wasn't able to be there for her how I wanted to be. But it was like also eye-opening, like, damn, she handled it on her own, and it made me sad. And she even came to see me on tour, and I didn't know, and it's like, I felt bad that she wasn't able to communicate that. She didn't want to spoil my biggest tour. I'm on tour doing amphitheaters with the coach.
Yeah, I remember the
my biggest tour. Yeah. So it's like, I understand her not wanting to spoil that for me, but I wanted to be able to be there for her. And, I feel what you're saying, where you weren't able to be that safe space of solace. And we don't know what to say. Like, to us, shit happens every day. But it's like, because it didn't happen to us, we're affected differently. And it's like, I can only imagine the mental, chemical, physical, spiritual turmoil and trauma that comes from having a miscarriage. So, I felt horrible, and when I got home, I tried my best, flowers and all the nice things to try to be helpful, clean up, just help around the house and just, make food, whatever I could do. And, it was definitely a difficult time, but, I think men don't really have the proper tools and the right information or knowledge of this situation to know how to be supportive or to move forward with, the conversations, you know what I mean?
Yes.
There was a lot of times where I would get expressed to about what the miscarriage was like or what she was going through mentally and where she was at. And I felt almost a little attacked, you know what I mean? And it's like, it wasn't about me. And I had to realize that this is not a dig at you. This is a very tough time for me, and you're a part of this, but it happened to me. You know what I mean? And you have to remove yourself from the situation and kind of be on some like, all right, cool, how can I be supportive for you,
Yeah, man. No, I love that. And I appreciate, that you were even open enough to share that. And, I even wanted to circle back and make sure that we talked about it, because I don't want other people to make the mistake that I have, for sure. When it comes to experiencing that. Now, why didn't you guys give up? Why did you continue to try? And then obviously it came to fruition.
I just think that it was meant to be, you know what I mean? And we were determined, and we were intentional about having a kid. It wasn't just us screwing around and being irresponsible teenagers or the young adults. You know what I mean?
Right.
And we were very intentional about wanting to have a child. And, that energy in itself helps you manifest that creative seed inside of you. So it's like, that determination and that drive and that mind state of we have to have this child, and even just praying on it together is like something that actually was a big part in us creating our child, you know what I mean? So, yeah, man.
Yeah, man.
Shout outs to Creator and Odisha for allowing us to be parents.
Yes. I love that, bro. You grew up, you know, your pop was Caribbean household. How much of that parenting informs your parenting, or how little of it do you employ?
You know, we were talking about this earlier. My dad's parenting comes in when I don't even expect it. My son do some shit, and I'm like, put it down. I can't help myself. It's just the Jamaican, like it just come out of me. And it's like, you know, it's way different because my dad was way more rough, and obviously his generation was like a different, you know. One thing I'm realizing too, like we don't talk about this a lot. We are a couple generations removed from the slave era.
Yes.
My grandmother, she's probably 70, 80 something, and Jamaicans do this, and Jamaicans could tell you, they'll probably see this and be like, what the hell? And someone like, no masa. It's like a Jamaican thing to say, and that comes from that. And they think it's like a cool thing to say, so it's like, I could only imagine that generation was being beaten by their parents, and then their parents were beating them, and then, you know what I mean? We continued that cycle from that era of thinking that's how you discipline someone.
Yeah.
And it's like, my grandmother's not calling me master, but it's in Jamaica, it's like they call people mas or mister and mas, like, so it's like those things I always think about often, and that's the reason why I would never lay a finger on my child too, you know what I mean? It's very important to be able to have a relationship minus the physical abuse. We can definitely be disciplinaries without hitting our children.
Absolutely.
And you know what I mean? My dad didn't bust my ass because I wasn't wilding. But when I did wild out, I definitely got put in line, you know what I mean?
Right.
Put a little backhand here and there, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Curse, say something you're not supposed to say my first bumble clock. Like, what you say? You know what I mean? But my kid, like, I'm like, yo, we don't say bad words. We just very clear communication. And at 3, he's such a wise kid, and he's very knowledgeable and smart, and he understands the level of communication that I'm giving to him. So, you know, we have a great understanding. I give him a look, and he knows I need to get in line. Daddy's giving me that look, and I don't like it, and that's all I need to do. Give him a look and say one thing to him, and he falls in line, and that's important to me. A level of love and respect where Daddy loves you so much to the point where I don't need to do anything to hurt you for you to fear me. You know that if you disappoint me, it's going to affect the way that we are with each other, and you should love your children so much to the point where they are scared to disappoint you.
Bro, that's such a bar. I've learned that I too decided that I wasn't going to beat my kids. I only decided that until I had my last kid, but my first 2 really didn't get their ass whooped.
For sure.
Much. My middle son, however, deserved that shit every time he got his ass whooped. But I decided I'm not going to put my hands on my sons.
Sure. It's
but
a different era.
It was actually my middle son who inspired me to make the decision, because one time he had a shoot. He was in like this Netflix. He was in, what was the name of that show that he did on Netflix? Kimmy Schmidt, The Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt,
Okay.
right? So I don't know if he had a fitting for it, some important thing to do, right? And he went to school that day. I'm like, yo, after school, come straight home, because we got to get from Jersey to Brooklyn to do this fitting, and you're the last kid on the sheet. So after this, these people go home.
Right.
So get home immediately after school. After school, my man did not show up.
He was at school glowing. He was like, I'm about to Do you think he was giving trouble? He like, nigga, I'm finna be on. We should go celebrate. That's what he was doing.
Yo, he was celebrating. That nigga was at the playground with his homies, having the time of his life, chilling. Bro, and I was steaming mad the entire time, but this is why I love God.
Yeah.
Because that time where that little sucker wasn't at my crib, I got all of my anger out.
Gotcha.
So by the time he got home,
you're just chopping it up, man.
Cooler heads prevailed, bro. We got on the bus, and I was like, yo, man, I'm real disappointed in you, bro. I need you to understand that when I asked you to do something and you agree to do it, I need you to honor your word. I'm like, now we're going late. Right. You know what's going to happen?
Right.
Those people that are there waiting for you are now working overtime. They're there later. It was a Friday. I'm like, don't you think Friday's your favorite day, right? Why? Because you got the whole weekend. I'm like, you're cutting into these people's weekends.
So
And
how late was he?
He was probably an hour late, bro.
Oh man, so they had to go home later than they usually
Yeah.
do. Damn.
It really impacted.
You lucky
them.
they waited.
And that part
could have lost the opportunity just off of being a silly kid.
Yeah, bro. And like, so not the whole ride, but like I could tell as I was talking to him, he was like sinking deeper into like, damn, like I really disappointed my dad.
That's all.
And that fucked him up more than anything I could have whooped his ass.
Of course, because it's just seeing that disappointment. It's funny, my son, he's so sensitive, I think, and he doesn't like to make people upset or sad, like his family. Like you know how you play with a kid and like you say, you hit me, ouch? My son cries if you get emotional. And it's like, that goes to show the empathy in his heart as a kid. And kids have empathy as well. And it's like, when they see, damn, my dad is not smiling and not the vibrant person that I know them to be, I caused that. That is the worst thing ever. Bro. You know what I mean?
When you have that type of relationship.
Yes.
And that's the important part. Like, you know, for my rap dads out there that want to be feared and want to be the disciplinarian,
right.
What you're doing is you're cutting off the possibility of that relationship to where your discipline comes just out of love and reverence to you as opposed to out of fear for my bodily harm.
Exactly.
This interview ain't over yet, but I wanted to let you know that this is just a piece of a longer conversation you can check out on the Rap Dad Show podcast on all platforms. And another thing that I think is important that we touch on is therapy.
Yes.
How has therapy impacted your fatherhood, your parenting?
Therapy definitely was helpful for me and still is helpful for me. Something that we don't talk about often. We acknowledge women having postpartum, but men get the baby blues and get something called PPPD. Or I don't even know if that's the correct thing for it, but I don't want to just call it postpartum because we're not physically.
But men do experience.
We suffer a type of postpartum, but it's not the physical
Which
aspect.
I was shocked I didn't know.
Right.
But
And through me doing the research, you know, I ended up realizing that, you know, women lose so much from giving birth and having children. Like, I always use this analogy. Like, imagine being a pie and somebody takes a slice out of you and you just have to be whole again. And it's like, damn, like, you know, it makes you kind of like reduce your situation to some extent, but also it makes you be empathetic to the real experience that a woman is having through giving birth to a child, you know? And for me, it was really eye-opening to really have that understanding. But at the same time, I was like also dismissing my own experience and feelings. And I didn't realize that I was depressed, and I didn't realize I was stressed out after becoming a dad. You know what I mean? Like, it was so much thoughts and stuff going through my mind of making sure I'm able to provide during the pandemic when we're not touring, when we're not doing shows, we're not outside at all. So like that whole time I was on Twitch screaming.
Right.
And you know what I mean? The distance from streaming all the time and not being like necessarily accessible.
Right.
Creates a little problem within your household as well too. So it's like when you're working, it's like all of these things are factors. And yeah, man, it therapy was the thing that gave me the clarity and made me realize, like, damn, I am going through something, and I've never heard anybody talk about these feelings that I'm feeling. I've never heard dads express such frustration, but you see it manifest in different ways. But we don't really talk about the negative side or like the impact that us becoming dads before we even think we're ready, because there's a part of the man that thinks that, yo, I need to be financially ready to be a dad, but that's not the truth.
Yeah, man.
You become a father or a parent when it's the right time for you to be a parent. The universe, creator, God is not going to bless you with a child if you're not ready for it. And granted,
nothing you can't handle.
Exactly. And granted, sometimes accidents happen and stuff happens, but specifically, I think God is very mindful of who he chooses to become parents. And it's important to have a safe space to comb through your thoughts. I think as black men in general, we don't really think therapy is an important thing. And even to this day, I try to get my dad to do therapy. He's like, me don't need no therapy. And it's like, all right, broski, like, that's cool. But it's really been helpful for me. And, dynamics change after childbirth. You know what I mean? Like your partner is chemically, physically, mentally a whole different person, and you got to be able to, one, be whole yourself and be supportive for her and your child.
Yeah.
And it's like, at that point, you're not only holding your weight, you're holding the world on your shoulders.
Right.
So it's like, yeah, man, I was going through it, and I was having my baby blues, and sometimes I still have them hit from time to time, and it's something I've been working on navigating through therapy and having that safe space to vent about it too, and have somebody to reason with. And yeah, man, I think a lot of dads need to be able to have at least either a father group or a safe space to comb through and talk about these things.
Yeah, man. And you often hear a lot of artists in different disciplines talk about how their art is therapy, and you have a very autobiographical approach to your music.
Definitely.
Even though sometimes that art is therapeutic, you still actually go to therapy. That's how important I think that, like, I wanted to make sure that we emphasized that there's one thing about having a creative outlet to express.
Right.
There's another thing about having a place to unpack and, and heal and, work through your stuff.
Plus, everything is not for the public. There's certain things you'll never make a song about that is for your therapist's ears only. And the HIPAA laws protect you.
Yes.
Ain't nobody finna be talking your business to nobody. So it's like, I drop a track talking about something I'm going through in my relationship, and it's gonna be on the next publication. Yep. So it's like things that are real personal, you might be able to make a song about it, but it doesn't need to be released either. And it's like, everything is not meant to be on wax. It's not for everybody's ears.
Yes.
And that's something that therapy has allowed me to be able to judge and decide, like, everything is not for everyone. You know what I mean? And certain things you could talk about, but I think it's important to acknowledge that certain stuff you need to. My therapist, I feel like, helps me whiteboard my thoughts for songs.
Okay. Wow.
You know what I'm trying to say?
That's fire.
Like, I'm combing through my brain, my thoughts, and I get a clarity on something, and I'm able to actually vocalize about it properly. And I'm not gonna act like I go to therapy every single week for the last couple years. It's very expensive if you're doing private. I just found out that I could do it through my insurance. I'm trying to go that route, but I was paying for it for a long time, and then, you know what I'm saying, when you can't afford it, you don't get to do therapy. So it's like, it's very interesting, but I think it's very important to have somebody to talk to comb through your thoughts before you go into vocalize it on certain platforms, and I think that's important.
That buffer, that layer alone, I think would have helped a lot of people, not misspeak or hate speak or any of those things. I love that you said that for sure.
For sure.